Hello everyone. In this video, we'll be sharing some of the tips and tricks inside Unreal, which will be helpful for artists currently working in 3D animation, then VFX workflows. Here there are 4 shots, which the animations have done in Maya. Uh, if you see in the first shot, the camera travels from left to right, okay? You can see in the perspective view, and over there the camera is also moving over there, as like from left to right in the Unreal output you can see. Okay, this is nothing but the car travels from there and up to here. In the last shot you can see it. I have used this set which I have downloaded from the Unreal marketplace. This is the hanger. Now let me copy it. Meanwhile, let me open the Unreal, which I'm going to paste this entire folder, this package, into the Unreal project. Let me create a project. With some starter content, which the starter content has some basic components with the name as VFX anim. Now this is the project which we have created. I'm going to paste that hanger package into this folder. Once you go back to the Unreal, you will get these updations. Just give import. You can see the hanger level. This is the BG which you have seen in the final rendered output also. What I did in the sense, you can see all the static meshes which is under this BG mesh folder. I have selected all the static meshes and I have exported from this export selection. Already I have exported, which is as BG_01. Let me segregate the outliner and lights, everything. Let me put it into the extras folder. Let me save this level as VFX anim_01. You can also set this level as default while opening the project itself, which is under the project settings. Under the project there is maps and modes. In that, if you see edited startup map, you can set created level as VFX anim_01. So once you open the project, by default this level gets opened. So this is the same BG which the car has traveled. Same thing in the Maya also we can see. I have imported the BG. So next we will see asset creation of the police van. This is the police van asset, which has 2 level of details for the geometries, LOD0 and LOD1. LOD1 is the low level of polygons, which the connections can be switched with this main control. I have used this asset for the animation. Let me switch to the camera point of view. This is how the camera moves, which we have seen in the earlier. Let me switch to the perspective view. So first let me bake the cameras. This stores the camera movements with these keyframes. Now let me export the camera. Let me switch on the bake animation and check on the cameras. Close it. Export selection. I'm going to name as shot 1 camera. version 1. Now it's time to export the mesh and the joints. Before that, let me bake the joints like our camera. Let me select all the joints and start baking it. Now I'm going to unparent it under the edit menu, unparent. I just want to confirm it whether it has been done correct or not. So let me isolate the joints. Yeah, it's working fine. Then let me check the geometry is also falling or not. Yeah, it's working fine. Now I'm going to unparent, same thing. Let me delete the top group of the rig node to avoid the messes after exporting. So now let me select joint and the geometry. Let me switch on the deformed models which has joint infos. Then let me uncheck the cameras, name it as van since it has van animation. Close it. Usually I used to check whether the exported informations have been done properly or not. To check it, I used to go by reference editor, file, create reference. I used to import the camera and the joint and the geometries. Let me delete the original one and check whether the exported one has got correct informations. Yeah, it's okay, fine. Meanwhile, let me export the geometries and the joints for the remaining shots as well as the cameras also. Next, we'll see about the exporting the skeletal mesh. Skeletal mesh is nothing about the static mesh of the geometries and its respective joints. Before exporting these skeletal meshes, let's know about the LOD setup. LOD is nothing but the level of detail of polygons. Here I have polygon cube as LOD 0 which has more segments, and the LOD 1 which has medium segments, and then the LOD 2 which is the least segments of polygons. Now let me export all these three. I'm not going to export with this level LOD group. Here I'm going to export LOD 0, 1 and 2 separately. Now let me import it. First let me import the LOD 0. Let me contact this hierarchy. Now let me drag and drop it into the viewport. Now if you check in the wireframe, the LOD 0 which has more segments can easily be seen. In the static mesh editor also you can see this is just a simple polygon cube which we have exported in Maya and importing it in Unreal. Now it's time to import the LOD1. Under the LOD settings, select this import LOD1. You can see the mid level of polygon. If you switch and check, you can see if you switch to auto, the polygons automatically gets update. This is because of the screen size. With the auto compute LOD distance, screen size is also getting updated. If the LOD is 0 for the screen size 1, you can see it. For the LOD 1, if the screen size is about 75%, this gets updated. To make it more precise, let's import the LOD2. Already been there, LOD1 is already been there, so it's showing as a re-import. Now we are going to import the LOD2. If you check the LOD2, for the screen size of 0.5. On the left hand side you can see the current screen size. With those values itself we can easily understand the polygons is getting updated, and even in the viewport also you can see it's keep on getting updated. Now if I want to see the cube with a constant number of polygons, I'm going to force the LOD. You can see here forced LOD model. 0 is the default, which keeps getting updated according to the screen size. Now 1 is the LOD 0, 2 is the LOD 1, now it's not getting updated, and the 3 is the LOD 2. If you switch to 0, again it goes back to the default position. Like the same ways, I'm going to export a van with 2 LOD setups along with these materials, LOD 0 and LOD 1. Let me break the connections of the visibilities and let me make it visible. Then let me unparent it with Shift P hotkeys, edit. Here I'm going to use which is create LOD group. It takes bit time. Since we are going to export the joints, I'm using with this setup. Yeah, now it has got created LOD group 1. You can see each LOD 0 and 1 under this group. Here itself we can see the differences, but we are not bothering about the screen size, everything, since we are going to force the model with the values. Now let me unparent the joints and export these two. Already I have exported as van skeletal mesh underscore v01. And now import what we have exported from the Maya. Before that, let me create the groups called skeletal mesh and then animations. Inside this skeletal mesh, let me import the recent model which we have been exported. Here let me uncheck the create physics asset and also the import animations. Give import. Here also it takes bit time to get import, since it's having all the infos about the joints along with the meshes. With the cube we have done the LOD setup as static mesh. Here we are doing it as skeletal mesh. Just ignore and close this. Now everything has got imported along with the shaders of what we have created in the Maya and the maps also. Once you double click the mesh editor, and you can also access the skeletal information over here in this window itself. Now it's time to import the LOD group. Under this LOD import, I'm going to import this skeletal mesh. It takes time. It's building the skeletal mesh now. We are going to use only 2 LODs. Yeah, everything is there. The wireframe also you can check it. With the 30% of the screen size, this gets differ. It's not that much clear, so let me switch to level of detail coloration. Once you switch to LOD 0, it's in gray color, and LOD 1 has a red color. If I switch to auto, if the screen size around 30%. The color is getting updated. Now let me get back to the light shadings, close the editor and drag our van into the viewport, close this and reset the values with this arrow key. Now the van is on the grid, means the location doesn't have any values. Inside the animation folder, let me import the van animations, only the van animations, not the camera. Here I'm going to uncheck the import mesh because already we have the skeletal mesh information. So I'm going to map that skeletal mesh to these animations. So if you go under the skeleton, select this, import. Let me do for the remaining animations also, just mapping the skeleton to these animations. Now we have imported all the animations and you can see in the editor also. Now we are going to see the level sequences. This is the movie scene animations for the actors, means we can handle the camera animations, character animations, and can create keyframes and so on. Let me organize with the folder. Now this van is just like an actor, like this basic cylinder actor. Use these animations for our skeletal mesh. So to do that, let me create a level sequence to the respective folders, or otherwise by right clicking over here under the animation, let me rename it as shot 01. If I double click this is the editor which has timeline, and here we can add the tracks, many tracks as like audio track, short tracks, fade track. You can create folders and you can bring the actors over here. So now I'm going to select our actor which has already been selected as van skeletal mesh, and I'm going to add into this. Still there is no animation for our skeletal mesh, but we have imported into the timeline. So here if you see, there is one animation track by default and also the transform track, which the same location, rotation, scale, we can key it over here. And here we are going to focus on the animation. Before that, let me change the FPS, which we have done the animation in 24 FPS. If I make the mark over here, and I can bring those animations under this, which we have imported earlier of short one. Now the animation has got imported as a clip for this actor. You can change this. This is the view range between this green and red marker. You can change the, I've already taken the note of all the shots of how much the frames and focal length, everything. Here the first shot starts from 1 to 120. So here I can type that frame number. I'm going to set the start time over here. I think by default it has the exact end time. If I make the 1 and if I drag it over here, but there is no asset over here, and if I press F in the viewport, you can see the van asset as how we have seen in the Maya animation. But here there is no camera, so I'm going to create a new camera from this icon, and there is a camera cuts on top of all these two tracks of skeletal mesh and the camera, but still there is no animation for the camera. You can see in the thumbnail also. So I'm going to import the camera animation by right clicking, import. With these options, unchecking it, you can see the camera movements for you now. But still the actor is not that much visible, so I'm going to change the focus settings from manual to tracking. Now it's working as what we have seen in the Maya. Now I have created the level sequence for remaining shots with the same method. You can see everything has done in the low level of polygon of LOD1. Next we'll see the concept of the master sequence. Before going into it, I just want to say that we can mix other shots into a level sequencer. Means shot 3 and the shot 2. We can make a single sequence with these two shots. Before going into it, I just want to say that to make it more simple, I just taken each shots in each level sequence, and I'm going to control all these shots under one master sequence. So to do that, I'm going to create a master sequence under the cinematics, or by right clicking it, same as like creating a normal level sequences, make it as a master sequence. Over there in the level sequence, we have seen the camera cuts. Here we will be seeing the shot track. So I'm going to create a shot track. Like importing the animations, I'm going to import the shots which we have already been created. Importing the shot one. This master sequence contains other sequences which helps to control those shots. Let's extend the timeline. Place all the shots. Now I can't see the shots view, so I'm going to click this camera icon to toggle between the viewport and the shots. Let the artist can work on their respective shots. In this master sequence, the director or the supervisor can easily edit those shots here, which won't affect the respective shots what the artist keep updates in a network. In this master sequence, the director or supervisor can easily update the timelines, whatever it may be, whatever they want, they can update it parallelly, which we are going to see it now. Say suppose the supervisor wants to change the shot one, which the camera goes from left to right. To do that, we can make it through takes. As of now, if you right click the shot, you can see the default take as take 1. Now I'm going to create a new take which comes as shot 1 underscore 02, which is the take 2. After that underscore, here the suffix refer to the takes, which is from the shot 1 we are going to edit the second take. So if I double click it, this dives into shot 1 underscore 02. Here also you can see a sequencer also got updated. Now if you come back, delete, I'm just showing the example, delete all the keys. Let's we have a begin and the end keys. Now I'm going to give an auto key for the camera by clicking this icon. Around this region, let me toggle the camera to the viewport. I'm going to adjust the camera, which you can see the camera has got pinned at the right bottom. Now switching back, it's coming as like this. Still it's weird only, but the supervisor might have changed the idea to go back to the previous take itself. So by select here itself we can go back by selecting the take 1. Now you can see the master sequence also got updated, which consumes the list time only. Now we can also trim the shots in the master sequence, say around 90th frame, the animation getting started. So I'm going to cut the shot over here, which I'm going to continue where the van gets start in the next shot. So here I'm going to in the second shot I'm going to cut the I'm going to cut the shot before the car turns, and going to continue in the next shot 3 where the car gets continued. We reduce the clips range over up to this and drag the shot through here. If you see, you can see the continuity over here. Like this you can trim the shots without affecting the shot sequence. All we have done with the LOD1, all you can see with the level of detail coloration, the forced LOD model as 2, which is in red color. Once you switch to 1, if you scrub the timeline, you can see it as a gray. So let's take the output with the LOD 0, rearrange the timeline, let's start rendering the sequence with the default settings. Save selected. You can open the folder with this open capture folder. Yeah, now we have taken the output with the low level of polygons, and the last chapter is about taking the shots with the updated textures. Now we are going to apply the textures with this inbuilt texture nodes to the shaders which we have imported from the Maya, and this is the shader from the Maya and updated. This pick, everything, roughness pick, everything have been updated. If you see, you can see the textures near the everywhere. We can see it has got updated. And if you force the LOD to high level, that also got updated. Now we can also render this as like previous. Now I'm going to rename this as van_01. So the final conclusion of this video is we have seen the BG creation, which the same BG we have used in Unreal and Maya, then exported the animations of the van asset, and then skeletal mesh, which is a static mesh with joints, we have exported, and all this skeletal mesh and the animation have been imported to the Unreal, created the level sequence as different shots, and we have edited these shots into a master sequence where you can trim the shots, you can edit with the takes as much as you want. At last, updated the textures with all the LODs. The textures have also been supported and taken the final output. So this video would be more helpful for the artist who works in the 3D animation and the VFX pipeline. Hope so it helps a lot. Thank you.